Hello and welcome, everyone. We are so excited to bring you the awards for our Pushing Forward, Reaching Back exhibition that is currently on view at Brookgreen Gardens. I'm Sandra Harris, Executive Director of American Women Artists, joined by Christine Drewyer, our President and also a Master Signature member.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to present the awards and we're happy that you can join us.
So to get started, we'll give you a little bit of background about AWA, if Christine wants to give us a little bit of a quick history.
Well, the American Women Artists is a nonprofit organization, and it's dedicated to the inspiration, celebration, and encouragement of women in the visual arts. And the organization was established in 1991 with roots in the Southwest. And our first show was at the Tucson Museum of Art. And our first president was Star York. And our juried show, first one, was 1997. Nonprofit status in 1998 in New Mexico. And here is a picture of some of our early members of our Heritage Circle. The Heritage Circle consists of Joni Falk and, well, Sandra's moved the screen. Sorry, Sandra.
There you go.
Joni Potter, Donna Howe-Sickles, who was able to be with us at the museum show, Rogue Simpson, Starliana York, and Kathy Lemke Waste. Sorry, Sandy, thank you.
Sure.
This is our current American Women Artists Board of Directors. Sandra, do you want to introduce them?
Sure. As I mentioned, Christine is president. Lisa Gleim is our vice president. Miriam Esteve is our treasurer. Barbara Mason is secretary. And then we have Marianne Cherry, Sandy Delahante, Jan Haynes Gilmore, Dr. Jan Haynes Gilmore, and Janet Lee, and Oceana Rain Stewart. And these ladies give so much of their time and energy and resources to support everything that we do. And we're very grateful for what they do all year long. And of course, we have to say that nothing we do would be possible without our patrons. We have so many individuals, families, galleries, vendors that support us with direct donations or donations of merchandise to give us prizes. The museums we partner with are giving their time and their effort. We just couldn't do our work without you. So thank you to everyone who has helped us in this exhibition and everything that we do. You'll be seeing throughout the awards categories of membership, and they are earned. Anyone can join at associate. And then once you've juried into a show, either a museum show or our online juried show, you become associate with distinction. 3 shows, you become a signature member, and then you'll see master signature. And those are women who have been invited and have met a specific set of criteria as signature members to become master signature. And only 1 or 2 women a year are chosen for that. So when you see that, those are people who have really spent a lot of time with AWA and crafted a career as a professional artist and are really great liaisons and representatives for us. This exhibition is part of what we call our 25 and 25 initiative. This was launched in 2017, and it's an initiative to have 25 museum shows in 25 years. And it came about after conversations regarding the fact that you don't see, still to this day, a lot of exhibitions of all women in museums. And if you look at permanent collections in museums, because of history, they are often the majority of what is shown are male artists. And so this was something AWA felt we could carve out a niche to have these 25 shows of our artists in museums. And this year is our 7th show. So we are on track. We'll be in Colorado next year, and in 26 we will be in Tennessee. So for this show this year, entitled Pushing Forward, Reaching Back, our show committee came up with that title, and it represents women moving forward in their careers while simultaneously helping those coming along earlier in their careers. It's a great theme for us. It's what we do. The show is now open through July 23rd. And to give you an idea of the competitive nature of our shows, 321 artists entered, 860 works were entered, and then 105 were chosen for the exhibition. We'll be giving out 28 awards and over 32,000 in cash and merchandise. So you can see that's a narrowing as you go down from those who entered to those who end up on the screen today with awards. Every year we do a catalog, and I know this is a favorite project that we do for Christine.
Oh boy.
And this year it'll be available on demand on Blurb. So our artists and our sponsors get copies in print. We do that first run, but if you're interested, we have links on our website where you can purchase one as well. And I have to thank the presenting sponsor for the catalog, the Janet and Robert Lee Family Fund, and highly recommend if you don't have one that you get one. It's a page dedicated to each artist and her work, and just gorgeous, gorgeous photos. Likewise, we need to thank all of the other sponsors that have made this possible. And as I mentioned, we can't do our work without it. And we hit a milestone this year. Every award that you're going to see was funded by an individual. And that's the first time that we've been able to say that. So you'll see the names of the people who have sponsored the awards. And we are so grateful. That allows us to use our resources the rest of the year for the organization and for serving our members in other ways. So we're very grateful. Our presenting sponsors, Edmund S. Twining III, he donated both for the symposium, which if you have not seen is also on YouTube. He covered the costs of that. He also donated the money for the grand prize award that you will see today. And then, as I mentioned, the Janet Robert Lee Family Fund. We also had an anonymous donor, very generous, with $7,000 towards master signature recognition, and then the Thagard Foundation for general support. Additional catalog support and reception hosting by two of our gallery friends, Floyd Fine Arts and Principal Gallery, who both held receptions for us while we were in South Carolina as well. We're grateful to them. And then we have named awards, which you will see, and those range from $750 to $1,000. And you can see, you'll see anonymous pop up in some of the awards, and those are folks who are incredibly generous and don't need their name to be shown or don't want their name to be shown. And we are so grateful, and they deserve the recognition nonetheless. We have Christine herself, who donates each year for the President's Award. Thank you. Angela Mia, who's another Master Signature member, and her family fund an award that we'll talk about for her mom. Kathy Trachak, another member, and her family also do a memorial for her mother. And then three of our artists, Sandy, Miriam, and Laurie, funded a memorial award for an artist, Kim Minicello, who passed a few years ago. So we're grateful for all of those. And Christine, you want to talk about our awards of excellence sponsors?
Yes, a lot of these are friends, family members, lovers of art, and even our own members, which, as Sandra had said earlier, are very generous and involved in the organization. These are awards of excellence are sponsored for $500. The first one's from Marianne Cherry, Roxanne Flissar, and Michelle Appellis. The Gleim Criswell family, in loving memory of Mary Zimmerman Criswell. Charles and Paula Holtzclaw, Dr. Saeed Kansariana, Robin and Raymond King, and Barbara Mason. And we're very grateful to them. Thank you so much.
And then we have our Distinguished Achievement Awards for $250. Another great list of generous folks. Again, anonymous. Bella Muse Productions, the Charleston Artist Collective, Julia Edmonds in honor of Judy M. Edmonds, Laurie C. Zimmerman in memory of her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell Thomas Zimmerman, the Meyer Vogel Gallery, Cheryl and Fred Newby, Tracy Norvell, Jean Revis, Kimberly and Jay Ree, and the Robert Lang Studios. So thank you all for your generosity. And then we always have such great relationships with media partners in giving us rates for our ads and for our group ads. And for this exhibition, Art of the West, Fine Art Connoisseur, and Western Art and Architecture have just been great partners. And you'll see a couple of awards that they were able to provide for us as well. Last but not least, one of our board members, Sandy Delahante, works tirelessly every year to help us work with vendors that give us merchandise that go along with these cash awards that we're able to provide. And if you go through this list, you'll see all sorts of businesses that relate to the work of being an artist, services and materials that artists love. And we encourage you to go to their websites, buy things, support them because they support women artists. And so we're very grateful for all of these vendors as well. Now we want to talk really quickly before we get into the actual awards, how the process happens. A lot of people wonder. So you saw hundreds of pieces get entered. Those are all entered digitally on an online platform. And the first phase is with 3 selection jurors. These are different for every show. And they look at the pieces blind. They don't know who the artists are. They don't know the titles of the works. They see the images and they score them. And we average their scores. So then the average scores are ranked. And they don't talk to each other while they're doing this. So this is completely independent look at the work, and we average their viewpoints. And what we try to do is have a real mix of perspectives. And this year, Tricia Loescher from the Western Spirit Scottsdale's Museum of the West was one of the jurors. Michelle Marceau, great friend of AWA, owner of Principal Gallery, was a second. And then Vanessa Roth, who has multiple pieces in the art world. She is a designer and an artist, but she also curates and she writes, and she has a fine art business. So you can see that these 3 women represent really diverse perspectives. So when we're averaging their scores, you're really getting a mix of ideas, and those that rise to the top have risen to the top for all of them. So it's a very interesting process. And then the second level is the awards jurors. So once those 105 were chosen, they were shipped to the museum to be in the show. They're unpacked and they're in the museum. Then the awards jurors come into place physically, face to face, to discuss the categories we've given them, and they have to come to agreement. And that is not always easy. And it's really fun to witness. It's a very thoughtful process, and they have categories and they go through and go back and forth. And again, we look for a mix because we want the opinion they arrive at to be from multiple perspectives. So we had Anne Brown, who worked for many years for Streamline Publishing, so understands the media side, has seen so many artists through her career. Katie Floyd, who owns Floyd Fine Arts, which is formerly the Cheryl Newby Gallery, so a long-standing tradition of fine arts in South Carolina. And then Robin Salmon of Brookgreen, who has been at Brookgreen for decades and has a great position as VP of Art and Historical Collections, as well as Curator of Sculpture. So she has worked with many organizations, has a great eye. So the 3 of them came from really interesting perspectives to land on these awards, and we thank them all. Not easy.
Oh, they had to duke it out.
They did. They made that known. So we'll kick it off with 2 honorable mention awards. Both of these pieces receive $150 in cash plus donated merchandise. These were open for juror choice, any medium, any style, and these were anonymously funded. The first one is Deanne Proja. She's a signature member from New Jersey. The piece is called Oasis. It's a line etching. It's 12 by 12. I love this piece because at first glance, particularly on a screen, you might think it's a photograph. And when you see it in person and you inspect it closely, you can see all these crosshatch work that she has done within it to get this tonality. She talks about the fact that she works mainly in New York, so a lot of her pieces explore the architecture and the different ages of the buildings, modern versus older, and she captures that black and white essence by doing it as a line etching. I love this. I also love this idea of it being an oasis. So if you look at that little patio at the bottom of the image, you're in this great urban landscape, which I particularly love to feel the feeling of skyscrapers around me. But there you are in this little oasis of a patio, catching some sun on the building. And I think to be able to capture all that detail and do that in black and white and a line etching is just spectacular. So so happy to see this one gain some recognition. So congratulations, Deanne.
Extraordinary piece. The next one is an honorable mention funded by Anonymous. This is Kathy Trachok, and she is a signature member. And the piece is called Bigger Than the Both of Us. And it really is something to behold in person. This is a watercolor, an oil, excuse me, and you feel the waves. You can hear the sound. You can imagine you're there with your best friend, not caring whether your belly's hanging out, talking about everything in the world. And she particularly speaks about the different perspectives, how nature is sometimes predictable and oftentimes viewed differently depending on where you live. That friendships, as we evolve and grow in our lives, that they have different chapters in our lives that are also different. And art itself is something that is easy to look at, but not always perceived in the same way by everyone. And so that whole dichotomy of bigger than the both of us, that world is, and art has a beautiful way of capturing that. And she has done that so beautifully. You can imagine that these two gals maybe played on the sand as children with buckets, and here they are about the grandchildren. So it's all about perspectives, which I think she captured magnificently. And then what better place to experience that than standing and feeling the smallness of yourself as opposed to the vastness of the sea in front of you. It just was a beautiful dichotomy of ideas.
Beautiful.
Congratulations, Kathy.
The next section we'll move into our Distinguished Achievement Awards. These were given by the donors we mentioned for $250 each plus donated merchandise. And we have 11 of those that were chosen in the categories that you see below. And so we'll go through these. The first one was the award for 2D pastel, and it was funded by Tracy Norvell. And it went to Julie Howard, Associate with Distinction Member from Texas. It's entitled Pleasures of Life. It's soft pastel 14 by 44. I love this piece. Again, when you look at work like this, you think first thought that it's a photograph. And it's still hard to believe that it isn't, even when you see it in person, because it's done in soft pastel. And Julie talks about in her essay about how she thinks drawing is the most spontaneous and most elemental piece of doing art, right? And that you can react and capture emotion so quickly and use that drawing to evoke emotion is what she's after. And what I think really stands out for this, she has clearly succeeded, that I'm just fascinated that you can see the reflection of the child in the water, as well as, I think it's a she, her face, and then the droplets all around, and you're seeing this gradation of color from the blues to the white, and she's in this mid scream, I'm gonna guess, and it's Pleasures of Life, and seeing kids splash in the pool all summer. We've all done this or seen this a million times, and capturing it with that reality that she's known for in her work of, this hyper realism look is done just beautifully in this piece. I just think it's gorgeous. So congratulations, Julie. And the next one is a 2D oil. This was funded by Cheryl and Fred Newby. This goes to Paula Holtzclaw, Master Signature member from North Carolina. It's called Come September, and it's in oil, 16 by 20. We had the pleasure of hearing Paula talk about this work in the gallery. That was the beauty of being back in person, and I loved it. So if you just look at the work, of course, it's gorgeous, and Paula is known for her treatment of light and her treatment of landscapes, the reflection on the water, this perspective of, you know, maybe you're walking across and you just happen to turn your head at this perfect time and the sun is coming down and you're seeing it reflect in all those places. But what I especially loved about her explanation for this piece is growing up in the Carolinas, it's a long summer. And by the time you get to August and you're in a marshland area like she portrays here, it's been hot and humid and dragging on. And by the end of August, you're just starting to see, and if you look closely in this work, particularly when you're in person, you're seeing that the colors are just starting to switch from summer to fall. You're just starting to see that little bit, and the light is changing just ever so slightly, and it's come September. And when I first read that, it was sort of come September, but then as she told it, it was like, come September, like hurry up and arrive. We are ready for you. So it is just a beautiful piece, and it really catches your eye in the gallery, and it feels like you're being pulled right into it. So definitely deserves its award. So congratulations, Paula.
This next award is a 2D award of distinguished achievement by Galen Rivera, signature member from California. And it's called At the Opening. And I particularly love this piece. She has a degree in illustration, which certainly shows, but she has managed to make the child the center of attention in spite of all that is going on around him. And I think that his eyes are particularly captivating. This is an oil on copper, and it's a tiny piece. It's an 8 by 10. So when you're looking at the glow of this child's skin and the intensity of the gaze, you can see he really is a kid in a candy shop of what do I look at next, which I have to confess, I saw that very same look on many of the observers at our show this weekend, where they just didn't quite know where to look next. But she has captured the innocence of the child. I may be wrong in that the copper is amplifying the inner glow that she's able to get in these wonderful skin tones. I think you're also seeing it's an homage to the times that we've just lived through. You can see that the gentleman in the back has little traces. You can see the mask. It's not front and center, but you can see it. And so this is an amazing time for kids to be part of an art show and be part of that whole experience of art versus health versus crowds versus what's important in life. And I think she's captured that really incredibly well. I was very impressed with this. Congratulations, Caitlin.
Our next one is a 2D watercolor, and this was funded by Julia Edmonds in honor of Judy Edmonds. And it's by Kathleen Giles, a signature member in New York. And it's entitled Life is Having a Spark of Hope. It's a watercolor 22 by 30. This is another one that when you first look at it, I couldn't believe it was watercolor. Most of you that are familiar with art or are artists know how unforgiving watercolor can be. And you make a decision, and that's your decision. And you put that down, and that's where it lives. And so I think it's incredibly brave to be such a realist painter with watercolor, because that is her goal. Kathleen is looking to see the real details, capture a piece of everyday light. This is a great example. She talks about in her essay that this is at her home. It's a planter at her home, and she looked out and happened to see it there. And she loves this juxtaposition of, you see brickwork slightly on the left side, and then the wood of the, I believe it's shutters, and then that weathered look, but then the plant itself is in a planter. And she talks about the fact that She called it Spark of Hope because when you see a plant in a planter, it implies it has a caretaker. And so that it implies that whatever we're surrounded by, something hard, something weathered, something rough, that there's hope because there can be care around us. And I just think that's a beautiful metaphor for this piece. And the way she's captured just the weathered texture of the brick, the wood, you can see the shadow of the plant coming down. Again, the fact that this is done in watercolor just amazes me. It is just absolutely gorgeous. So I understand why the jurors chose this. So congratulations, Kathleen.
Just the colors and the shadows blow me away.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
This next one is another watercolor. We had so many great watercolors in this show, which we were really happy to see. So we were able to give 2 watercolor awards. This one is funded by Kimberly and Jay Ree. This is by Arlene Mann, an associate with distinction member. She shares time between New York and Tennessee. It's called Little Artemis, and it's 24 by 24. It's watercolor over graphite, as a matter of fact, which is a little bit different when you use it on that surface. Again, it's going to absorb, and your decisions are your decisions. There's thinking about both the work. Let's look at the design of it, right? So if you've been to the Met in New York, this is a piece that is there that you can capture from many angles, as you see. She grabbed it from the back, which I personally love, because when you're in museums and you're looking at sculpture, you may enter a gallery and see it from, every random angle, which is great. But what I love about the way this is positioned, particularly, is it looks like, because she's in motion, that she's going to run down that hallway at any moment. And if you read about Artemis, depending on which piece you read, no matter what, she's seen as somebody who is in nature. She wears her short piece because she needs her legs free to be able to run through the woods. And this sculpture's capturing her motion in that. But I think what Arlene did with it is incredible, because it's taking this very solid piece that's on display at the Met and turning it into something that looks like it's in motion. It looks like she's about to jump off that base, night at the museum, and come to life and go running down that hallway. And what she's done with the color to even enhance that is you have those lighter focal points around the piece, with the pillars being white. Then as you move forward, the Met has some natural light coming in. You're seeing that turn to more of an orange. And then further down, you're seeing that longer destination where you're seeing that outside light come down on the top. So I think she talks about wanting to portray calm and clarity. She calls her pieces, quote, unmodern, because she's looking for these classical images and feelings. And as a museum goer and a sculpture lover, I just think this can't be beat. So congratulations, Arlene. This is gorgeous.
Oh, goody. I love to talk about this piece. This is the Acrylic Distinguished Achievement Award, funded by Laurie C. Zimmerman in memory of her parents, Caldwell Thomas Zimmerman and Mr. and Mrs. And this is Cher Pruis. She's an associate member and with distinction. And she's one of our Ontario, Canada members. This is a very small piece, but it showed up across the room and draws you right to it. That something about that little girl is very engaging. First of all, if you've ever worked with acrylic, it's something about the textures of oils. They're juicy and fluid, and you would think that would be something that would be easy to make look wet. This is not that kind of medium. It tends to dry very quickly. So the fact that as an oil painter, I look at this and have tried some acrylics, that she has managed to get a medium that is not as fluid as something else like watercolor or even a drawing, and it looks wet. The bubbles, the fascination with the light, the child's semi distortion. She manages to make the anatomy nailed properly, but yet everyone that has opened their eyes underwater and sees the movement of the hair, the particular shadows that are the nuances of light as it goes through, traveling the water, bouncing off the sides of a blue pool, it's just right there. And then, of course, that gaiety that children and exuberance that they exude when they are in a swimming pool is second. But she has managed to, yet again, she was another award winner of mine a couple of years back for a President's Award, and she has not failed to surprise and excite me yet again with her sense of color and excellence, drawing skill, but that ability to distort while keeping the perfection and holding true to reality. I can't even imagine trying to do this piece. Thumbs up indeed to you, Cher. Yet again, beautiful job.
Our next one, I love to talk about this one, is a 2D pencil. This was funded by the Charleston Artist Collective. So this is by Barbara Dahlstedt, a signature member from Arizona. It's called Color Runs Through My Veins. It's colored pencil and wax pastel. It's 18 by 24. This one, I have to be honest, grabbed my attention the first time I saw it when the jurors were submitting scores and I was looking at the top pieces. This photo is a little too narrow, and I apologize for that. The piece is actually a little bit wider. The perspective is a little bit off. Sorry about that, Barbara. If you look online or in the catalog, it'll look a little bit better, but you're still getting the essence of this piece. It's pencil. And when you see it, it is mind-blowing that it is pencil. She describes this piece, this iris being somewhat of a self-portrait, which I love. And she talks about the representation in the veins of being this feminine power and color coming through it. And it's just such a powerful message that she gives. On the technical side, she's using the drafting film. So she's drawing on both sides. So that gives you this depth that you don't get from just a plain flat surface. So she can discern where to put that color on the back side, so you're going to see it come through on the front side. And then for this wax piece, it's hard to see here, but in person the background's a little blurrier, right? It has these gradations, but it's blurrier and it's letting that iris jump out at you. But that's achieved through this wax that gets melted, and she said it's almost like lipstick in the consistency that she moves it around to bring that together, and the piece would be very different if she didn't have that, right? The piece would not jump out quite as far. Again, this one drew me in digitally, and it was one of the first ones I went to in the gallery to see it in person. And the fact that it's pencil and that it just sits there quietly with this feminine elegance, as she describes it. If that is her self-portrait, wow, beautiful and strong and incredible. So congratulations to you, Barbara. It's a beautiful piece.
It calls you right across the room. It really did come right out.
Yeah, it really did.
Just went, wow.
Yes.
Oh, I love this little piece. This is a 3D Distinguished Achievement funded by Anonymous. And this goes to Kim Corey, one of our master signature artists from Arizona. And it's just as charming as it looks in this picture, maybe more so in person, because it's not really that much bigger than what you're seeing in this picture. So it's intimate and sweet as hummingbirds are, and they're fleeting and they look magical. It's like having a conversation with a fairy when you get to see them in person. And she's managed to capture that. And she is also a master signature of American Women Artists, but also a signature member of Society of Animal Artists. So she clearly dedicates her time to the flora and fauna, and she's managed to do both here. I could use that golden pear right now, and this hummingbird is certainly And she says that she really loved the idea that hummingbirds rarely are still during the day and they constantly move while they're hovering, but at dusk they settle down and they can be ready for their energetic burst the next day. So you see a rare moment. I love the way his little wing is kind of out, almost like saying my pair. Colors, the patina is really particularly precious as well, because birds really are just little gems wrapped up in feathers, and they sparkle and catch the light, and so does this adorable little sculpture. So I think she's going to sell out every one of the edition on this. It's already gotten a good start. So congratulations, Kim. It captures your heart. It's as charming as can be, and you really managed to capture that moment rest.
Lovely. We have next another 3D award that is equally charming. This is funded by Bella Muse Productions, who's another one of our artist members company. Such generosity among our members. Diane D. Mason, master signature member from Colorado. It's entitled Sought and Found. It's a bronze, also on the smaller side, 10 by 11.5 by 11. And I love this for many reasons. What you do when you look at her work, she focuses on animals quite a bit, and she's not ashamed to say they're often cute. She'll use that word. And it's this way that she takes it is realistic. You know that's an owl, but there's something in that expression of the eye and the way that she's rounded that a little bit more, that it gives it, you know, a little more of that illustrative look. And it does give you, where owls can sometimes look daunting and pensive, this one looks curious and friendly, and she's captured it. But what I like, what she talks about is she's a birder. And so these pieces that you're seeing along with it, the binoculars and the strap, are something she would have to go birding. And she thought, what a great companion to have this little owl on my stuff that I would use to go birding. But what I want you to really look closely, and it's fascinating. If you look at the binoculars and you use your imagination, she used a solo cup to start the base of that. And then in the middle of the binoculars, she used a pill bottle to start that. And the strap, she started with wire mesh. So I think that message is you can find form in anything around you, and you can translate that into something that is instantly recognizable, but that she could find this inspiration from these things around her, from her everyday life, and turn it into just this gorgeous little piece. It's hard to see on the image, but there's a book underneath as well, like a birding journal, and she carved that out of foam. So when you go 360 around this, you're seeing all the views of the book and the binoculars, the strap, and then that owl. Looks like he's ready to go with her on her next journey. So thank you for this one, Diana. It's beautiful, and it shows gorgeously in the gallery. So thank you very much. Well done.
He looks like he's saying, who, me?
Yeah.
So cute.
I love it. This next one was open for juror choice. So any medium, any subject matter, any style. And this is funded by Meyer Vogel Gallery, another great gallery partner. We appreciate your partnership. This is by Grace Athena Flock. She's an associate member, one of our newer members from Washington. It's entitled, Can I Get the Door for You? It's oil on aluminum panel, 24 by 36. I love this. First, from the technical perspective, when you see it from across the room, the way the light hits this, as oil, and again, like the piece we saw earlier by Galen that was on copper, this is on aluminum, and using that is so smart for these pieces. You know, the crutches are aluminum, there's the shine coming off the brace, and then it's subtle, but these pieces are the star, right? That they are not lit in a very broad way, but you see them, you see the shadow. But the story behind this is something I really love as well. So she talks about the fact that she was a burn victim and lost mobility when she was young. And so she, like many people who face living in a world that's not so comfortable for people with physical impairments and disabilities and challenges, that it's this culture that you enter into, both mentally, physically, and then you have these tools like crutches and a back brace that have to come along with you. And then this concept of, can I get the door for you? We hope people are saying that if they see you with crutches, that there is a community, that there is a culture where people are going to slow down for a second and help somebody who might need assistance in whatever manner. And I think that her ability to take this art form of oil on aluminum, do this realistic, representation of these tools, but then convey this message to us about what they mean and what they really do for someone, and how we could all be better equipped to help others and ourselves when we need it. I just think it's a beautiful message all wrapped up in this beautiful piece. And again, it's one of those that really makes you stop and look and think. So well-deserved. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, for being such a limited palette, the background is like an opal. It just shimmers in every different subtle color. It's really just quite remarkable.
It's incredible.
Very impactful. Oh, I love this piece.
Speaking of color.
This is a Juror's Choice Distinguished Achievement funded by Jean Revis and her family. And this goes to one of our master signature members and board member, Lisa Gleim. And this is called Moonlight Serenade, and it is a pastel. And I want to say it's a pastel sprinkled with a little bit of magic, because it really does shimmer. Lisa is very much a wonderful animal painter. She is an Audubon artist that was named a Gold Medal of Honor for Pastel recipient in 2012 and 2016, which is a very high honor. And then the Art Spirit Foundation's Gold Medal Award for Pastel in 2019, just to name a few of her achievements. This particular piece, there is a little bit of iridescence in the background, which makes the piece just shimmer right off of the paper. And it has a very large presence. It's in a tabernacle type frame, and it really has almost an iconistic flavor to it. He is so majestic. He knows he's fine, and yet there's this quiet softness that you can hear the crickets. I really love that this particular piece, so many of our artists are inspired by all kinds of different things, and this one was inspired by a childhood book that she particularly loved, by Walter de la Mare, which was called Peacock Pie, of children's rhymes, a book of children's rhymes. And this was inspired by one of the lines, if you'll indulge me, I just, as you look at this painting and listen to this one stanza of the poem, it so beautifully captures that essence. And it says, "Slowly, silently, now the moon walks the night in her silver shoon. A moonless fish in the water gleams by silver reeds in the silver stream." And I just think that she has, with the hanging moss and the slight reflection, I can almost see that fish gleaming and that bird watching, and the tail as it ruffles, as peacocks will show off with their finery. This one has his tail down, but he certainly knows he's fine. And she has just captured an exceptional magic with this piece that anybody would be really proud to live with. I would love to be that person. Congratulations, Lisa. Lisa also shares part of her living time in Georgia, where these kinds of hanging moss. She was also inspired, as we walked through the gardens, there's a peacock sculpture in the gardens that was also a part of, as we start to think about what we're going to paint or draw. That was another impetus for wanting to do this piece. And she also lives part-time in Montana. So she gets those awesome critters like bears and wolves and, you know, predators as well. so so this girl has the chops for all kinds of Audubon and beautiful animal pieces. Congratulations, Lisa.
Gorgeous. So congratulations. Those are all of the Distinguished Achievement Awards, and just the variety and difference in subject matter and medium. You can really see how difficult of a job this was for the jurors, but I think their selections absolutely represent some of the best that we saw. So congratulations to you all. The next section are the awards of excellence. These are the $500 awards we mentioned. There are 8 of them in these different categories, excuse me. And up first.
Yes, this is the award for Landscape, Seascape, or Cityscape Award of Excellence, and it is funded by the Gleim Criswell family in loving memory of Mary Zimmerman Criswell. And this work is by Michelle Usabelli, a signature member in Washington State, and it is called Afternoon Piazza del Popola. And yes, it is as absolutely yummy color-wise as it is here shining off of this page. It shimmers. She has managed to take half tones like the aquas and the pinks instead of the primaries, and she sprinkles in, this is one of the trademarks of Michelle's work that I've come to expect and love about her work. The primaries are sprinkled in subtly and provide this almost confetti work. What you may also not know about Michelle is that she has her heritage. She is a granddaughter of both Italian and French immigrants. Lucky girl. That girl must know what good food tastes like, I can tell you. And so she says she feels she was born to create. And she also has a degree in architecture, which certainly, even though this particular painting is an impressionistic laying of color, the architecture is sound. It is accurate, it is correct. The perspective is there. The solidity of the building translates. The geometry holds the space. The ability to take the people and make a triangular type of composition that draws you back and into the building, which towers back up, and that lovely dome set against that pink sky, and then bouncing right back down to the shadow with all the color in that. She just is a master of color. I feel so much joy when I when I look at her work, and everyone there. I think Robin Selman was also particularly smitten with this piece. She did a little commentary on it when we did our gallery walkthrough. And so I think legitimately, Michelle can claim that she understands these places as they are part of her heritage. Lucky girl. And this Afternoon Piazza, I want to be there as a tourist, and I know right around the corner there's a little Italian place that will have fabulous pizza and probably a wonderful tenor serenading you. So beautiful job. And I think that she has, again, used this oil and the fluidity of the oil to translate the color without making it muddy. It stayed so fresh and so just delicious color. I applaud you, Michelle. You are a master of color. This piece is a figurative and portrait award, and this is funded by Marianne Cherry, and this goes to Daniela Wernick. She is a signature artist from Texas, and it is called The Blue Butterfly, and it is watercolor on aqua board, which is like a clay panel. So imagine what Sandra was telling you earlier about, before I speak about this subject, the medium itself it's down and it's down. So you don't erase. You have to get that drawing perfectly, and this really almost reads like an oil painting to me. The lush color, the brilliant use of patterns that bounces your eye throughout the entire piece. She did a series called Metamorphosis, which of course the butterfly exemplifies perfectly, but you are pulled into the contemplative moment that this young lady, who's no longer a little girl, and she's not quite an adolescent either. She's still wearing an innocent lacy dress. She still has baby hands, and yet she's in that transition which all young girls go through, where she's able to translate beautifully what this looks like, how to gracefully manage that and manipulate the change. So these beautiful patterns, you have the enough of color in the background. If you cover up that side with the tile, it's really a very, very limited palette. And so another thing I'd like to applaud Daniela on is her brilliant use of values. If you don't understand those, you try using 4 colors and getting that to give you the depth that she's managed to create here. The the lace patterns that fold over the leg so carefully and create not only the shape of the leg, but interest that echoes the pattern in the tile. And it's also on the dress and on the arm, and her looking down, this that sweet, serene calm of that moment where she knows if she moves, the butterfly might move. And that youth is in fact like that, fleeting, but yet a butterfly actually has to go into the chrysalis and die before it becomes a butterfly. So much of adolescence is not an easy, pleasant process. And I think she's just captured all of that transition and metamorphosis so beautifully. And it does represent growth, transformation, and this young lady, I can't say hasn't bloomed because she's already a little flower, but you can see that she is going to bloom into a wonderful, thoughtful young lady after this stage of her life too. I think it's just so sensitively and beautifully captured. I applaud you, Daniela. Really wonderful work.
Just
Yeah.
the next one is an award for still life funded by Barbara J. Mason. This goes to Eileen Nisler. She's a signature member in Wyoming. It's called An Essay in Glamour. It's colored pencil 11 by 11. So I get to talk about pencil again. This is another one that I just, my brain has a hard time fathoming how this gets achieved. And this is a smaller one, like I said, 11 by 11, but it jumps at you on the wall in the gallery and beckons you to come take a closer look. And when you do look closely, if you look at that flower, the gradations from the light to the dark, every petal is different, every shadow is different as a flower would be. And then it's a still life sitting upon this lace, and you see the pearls and you see the saucer. But what's so interesting, if you look closely, it's sitting on some weathered wood. And Eileen talks about the fact that that wood came from their corral in Wyoming. And so she discusses the fact that the theme of femininity has become really important in her work. And she sees those two sides, right? This idea of feminine and masculine, and it's this polarity that comes together in the way that she portrays this. She talks about the fact that she was raised by very elegant and classy women, even though they may not be around. She looks at pieces like this, you know, the lovely lace, the pearls, to be reminiscent of, I can think myself of an aunt and a grandmother that this reminds me of, that are put together and lovely, whatever they're doing. And she's portraying that with not only the objects, but this beauty of this flower opening up. And what I love is that she used black for the background to make this pop even further. She could have had so many different choices of how to go with that. But this works so beautifully because it draws you to look at that and to notice those details. Finally, for those of you that like Rod Stewart music, An Essay in Glamour should roll off your tongue from the song You're in My Heart. And she refers to it. That's where it came from. So if you review those lyrics, you know, you're an essay in glamour, pardon my grammar. But it's about, you know, you're in my heart. How did I deserve this creature. And I think that's just a lovely way to title it and a way to pay tribute to a song lyric, which I love. So congratulations, well deserved for another beautiful pencil piece in this show. This is another one that I get to talk about. This is Abstract or Mixed Media Award funded by Dr. Saeed Kansarinia, and it is by Marianne Della Rocco, an associate with distinction member from Maryland. It's called Mythos. It's another colored pencil. We had so many great examples of that this year, 20 by 16. And if you look at Marianne's work, you know, it's so interesting because she wasn't other things. She was a teacher, she was a mom, a family person, and she was, like many artists and many of our members talk about, had this talent and was doing it partially and sometimes, and then started doing it more. She had another one of our members who is a friend, Suzanne Vigil, encourage her that, hey, focus on this, you've got something here. And boy, was she right. When you look at her works, the fact that she calls this, you know, mythos, a lot of her work explores things that are of nature, but that she is taking the color, taking the organic matter and blurring it a little bit for you. And distorting is the word that she likes to use, where, and this is my favorite kind of imagery, where you think you know what it is, but you're not sure what it is. And every time you look at it, it can be different. I told everybody I saw a dragon's eye, and I'm sticking to that, that it was that idea of, and even though that wasn't her intention, that's what I saw, and that's what I continue to see, because I just see this power and this mythology and these great colors of the green and the gold coming together. She was looking at plants and flowers and water, and she does that just beautifully in a lot of her work. And again, it's pencil. And so the idea that she can, if you look all the way to the top of this gray and this violet, moving into those golds and the yellows and the greens and the blues, and then coming back again to gray and then down to the black at the bottom, to be able to envision that and capture that with pencil never ceases to amaze me. And this is another one, the way it's placed in the gallery, it's sort of first in line on one of the corners, and it doesn't matter where you're standing in that particular gallery, it catches you from the corner of your eye, and you have to go look. And I saw so many people while we were there looking at it and interpreting it, which is the key to everything with art, that you get to look at it, know there's elements the artist meant, but you get to make it your own. So my little dragon eye, but congratulations, Marianne. It's very well deserved. It's a beautiful piece. I get to talk about this next one too. This is the Sculpture Award of Excellence. This was funded by Charles and Paula Holtzclaw. This went to Rosetta, Master Signature Artist in Colorado. It's called Catnap. It's a bronze 10 by 10.5 by 13. And many of our members and a lot of people at Brookgreen know Rosetta, and you will know her work being focused on animals. And she does quite large pieces, smaller pieces, but this great angularity with animals is what she's really known for. And what she talks about is she started a series of humans with animals. And that has become interesting to her over the last few years. So she's done a few, and this was one of the latest in that kind of series. And what I think the jurors saw and what I see is, while it still has her angularity, it's capturing softness, right? We love a big, easy chair. We plop down, throw our head back, and our cat comes and sits on our lap. And that's all soft and wonderful. And you still feel that, despite the fact this is in bronze, which is hard. And Rosetta uses this great angularity when she designs a person or an animal, but it still feels soft. So I think that is just brilliant to be able to do those two things, particularly in a medium like bronze. And she talks about how we all can relate to this feeling, whether you have a cat or not, of that, okay, I just need to stop, I need to rest. And I think that she has grabbed that beautifully. And I love that she's kind of gone off into this other direction, and found this mutually comforting situation, even in a medium like bronze. So I can't wait to see even more like this. So congratulations, Rosetta. Well deserved.
It almost looked like stone. It was just,
It
it
does.
had
The
that,
patina.
it does. Patina reminds you of stone. Yeah,
It does.
quite beautiful. Oh, goody. I get to talk about this one. This is Animal Art of Excellence, funded by Robin and Raymond King. And this goes to our Pokey Park from Arizona. She's a signature member, and it's called A Helping Hand. And this is a bronze. And it has well, I will back up for a second. Pokey has a lifelong goal of focusing on endangered species and bringing them to the attention of the public, and she does that beautifully with her very quirky animal sculptures, and how the environment affects not only the natural selection of the species, but also how the humans' use of their territory impacts their survival. And Pokey was asked to create this sculpture called Helping Hand. It was one of 36 animal sculptures that were chosen for Children's Hospital in California. And in the commission, it was important for her to capture love and support that nurtures healing. And so in this quail, what I love about this is, this chick, I just particularly love the feet. They're just like, wee, I'm jumping. I mean, it reminds me of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, and the exuberance of the chick and then the calmness of the mama. I can see this chick as a teenager rolling its eyes going, oh, mom, we're still having this wonderful, tolerant look of patience, and I'm going to be there for you. And yet there's a little bit of humor to it. There's the patinas are fascinating, exciting, different. There's a bit of homage to all the animals that she does. They really do draw attention. The quail is quite a wonderful, inquisitive bird that is, has that little funny little top knot, and she takes that and uses it, and she uses that little piece of the mama's top knot to bring you back around, and the arm that comes down. So the geometry of the piece is wonderful, and then just the exuberance of the baby is endearing and irresistible, and all of that in bronze. So I can imagine what I would love to see all 36 of those sculptures together. Children's Hospital I'm sure that these will go a far piece toward healing, joy, and all the things that art brings to people, inspiration, and taking a moment off of the fact that you may not feel 100%, or that you're sad because a loved one does not feel 100%. And I think that these will just go a far piece. What an honor and a privilege to have been chosen for that. Good on you, Koki. That's really a perfect sculptor for that particular honor. Beautiful job.
I have to say, as somebody who lived a lot of my life in the desert, the memory of those mama quails with that string of baby quails running behind them was something you looked forward to all the time. And so that really brought a smile to my face to evoke that memory. So
yes,
thank you for that, Koki.
This award is a juror choice, was chosen by the jurors, and it's an award of excellence. And it was funded by dear friends of mine, Roxanne Flesar and Michelle Apellis. Thank you, Roxanne and Michelle. When I sent them the picture of the award winner, they were both over the moon excited. They are avid collectors themselves, and particularly of women's art. And this piece, they said if they were choosing, they may very well have chosen and selected the same piece. So good on you, jurors, for doing a beautiful job with that. I look at the picture of Megan down here in the corner. She says she grew up in Thompsonton, Maine, and I see a little wood nymph here, that's someone that clearly understands the woods and the natural world. She is also a gallerist, married to an artist. That must be interesting, as any spouse of an artist knows. We're a rare breed that sometimes you want to keep locked in a box. So with two of them doing it and then immersing themselves in art, I think they must bounce off of one another, and then to share that love of their own art and represent artists. Again, just to speak of the history of the artist here. She is an associate member living in South Carolina, and Somewhere Deep is an acrylic on panel. And she says that she spends a lot of time reflecting inwardly as she paints outwardly. And I think the the white background, I do see color in this background, so I can hardly call it white. As an artist, I see again this sort of opalescence to it, which is echoed in the very subtle colors of the backgrounds in the trees. But you see this silhouette of a contemplative woman, and it makes me pensive. It reminds me of my eons of hours traipsing through woods and climbing over logs and discovering streams and towing a dog along, and all of those things that being in nature does for you. And she says she grew up exploring the Maine coast. And so she says that these moments were inspired where she was able to let her imagination thrive. And she describes it as a play on the idea of wandering far through the forest while also reflecting inward. And I think that this portrays that in such a unique, who would have thought to do it that way? I mean, I think the world is in love with something that they've never seen before. I've quite frankly never seen this concept of a landscape within a silhouette on a whiteboard. And it conveys that idea of a disappearing landscape, the preciousness of what we have here that we are stewards of, and how we are part of the natural world that is for us to be stewards of. It's within her. So I really love that she's captured this so subtly, so beautifully, and so powerfully. Love it. I applaud you for the individuality of this and the very unique concept. Bravo. Very contemporary minded with the traditional presentation. So I was quite blown away with this. Congratulations on the award, Megan. Very beautifully done. Oh, goody. This is one of my own favorite pieces. This piece is the Jurors Award of Excellence, and it truly is excellent. And it's funded by an anonymous donor, whom we are always so grateful for. The people that believe in us, sponsor us, don't need to see their names in lights, but they are having their names and them in lights for us big time. And this went to one of our master signature artists who lives in Texas, Angela Mia. And Angela, so much of her own work is inspired by her mother. And I was fortunate enough to be present when she gave a little gallery talk at the museum about this piece. And it is called She Moves the Stars. And she does. She moves the stars. She's riding the stars. Her little model, she often used to paint her own children. And when they got too big, she probably still sculpts them, but not as babies. She started borrowing her friends' children. And this little girl's name was Lily. And she looks like a lily, doesn't she? She's just so filled with that joy and exuberance of a child. And she said when she brought her into the studio, her mother let her come in she saw her first at the pool with a tutu ballerina type bathing suit, and she was already twirling. So, that was a no-brainer. She was going to take Lily as a model, and Lily took it quite seriously. And she used to dance in her studio to Taylor Swift, which I just had to share the story, part of the story, Angela, because she's just magnificent. And she does exalt the human spirit, and her expressive face, her natural body movements, which with Angela is just a master at doing. Angela is an award-winning elective fellow of the National Sculpture Society and a master signature of AWA, as I said. And she was also named Living Master by Art Renewal Center. If you're hearing a theme, the word master keeps coming up. I think that is well-deserved and an obvious title that suits Angela to a T, because this work is just exemplifies everything that exudes excellence. So in her little essay about Lily, She Moves the Stars, she said, the unknown nature of existence with exuberance and playful curiosity. She moves the stars as the stars move her. And clearly she's being lifted by this whirlwind almost of star formation. And in the midst of an ever expanding universe, her growth, the growth of this child, does ride the rhythm of a cosmic dance. And doesn't she, though, ride her rhythm of a cosmic dance? It's a very, it's soft, but the patinas are so perfectly executed. And she says that she is filled with not fear, but wonder. And isn't that lovely that, I think we can all learn of witnessing a child and one preserved in bronze forever, to remind you, everyone that looked at that piece suddenly got a smile on their face and a whimsical expression, remembering maybe their own childhood when they looked at turmoil with, let's go dance in this dust devil, instead of, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Once we know so much, we forget that wonder and excitement that children dance through life with. And I think she has captured this through eternity in such a beautiful, magnificent way. Master title was never more well deserved, Angela. Congratulations on the award.
And congratulations to all the awards of excellence winners. So you can see again the variety that the jurors chose, subject matter, medium, just wonderful to see so much talent, regardless of the artist's choices. So congratulations.
Very well deserved.
I do want to take a moment to mention, as I said earlier, we have 3 magazines in particular for the show: Art of the West, Fine Art Connoisseur, Western Art and Architecture, where 3 of our award winners will get as their merchandise prize, really a prize that is a full page ad in a magazine, which we all know is no small expense these days. So the first one for Art of the West goes to A.G. Markle, an associate member from Montana. We're going to talk about this piece a little bit more in a minute, because she did, as I said, won another award. But this was talked about by the jurors for that publication in particular, because Art of the West, yes, it's Western art, but it is exploring beyond the West, and it's exploring all different types of themes. And this piece really exemplifies that. And we'll talk a little bit more about it. But congratulations. You will have a full page in that magazine for that gorgeous piece. Yay. The next one we've already heard about, which was Michelle's, and she will receive a full page in Fine Art Connoisseur. And she'll have many pieces to choose from. So congratulations, Michelle. And then last but not least, the piece Color Runs Through My Veins, which we've heard about, will receive a full page in Western Art and Architecture. And that's another just beautiful publication that expands that idea of the West. And so many of Barbara's pieces are Western related plants and flowers, and it really exudes the style of that magazine, in my opinion, too. So congratulations to those 3 who will have those full page awards as well. And our last big category before we get to the grand prize are the named awards. And we talked about our sponsors who pay for the cash portion of these awards. And then of course we'll have more donated merchandise from our sponsors. So we will walk you through those beautiful pieces. First up was Christine's choice for AWA president.
Well, this, first of all, I'd like to say, as president of American Women Artists, it is such an honor to be able to give back. I know that oftentimes the smallest of awards can make a difference in an artist's career, in the way they view themselves, in the seriousness with which they take their art and their professional career going forward. And so I know what that has meant to me in my own career. And it's just an honor to be able to sponsor one, which I can tell you, I know that these judges must have pulled their hair out because I did. I started the same way that our selections judges did, with looking at all of the images digitally. And then I make it a point to always try to look at these pieces because they don't always translate the same in person. This award is given to Carmen Drewyer. She's a signature member of North Carolina. She did happen to be present at the museum show. And I knew, of course, she was winning the award, but she didn't. And I was taking pictures of everyone. And she is the most unassuming, calm, quiet, kind person. I believe that that translates in her work. She lives on a farm. And I think that when you are in harmony with the land, with the critters, with the simplicity of farm life, combined with the hard work of farm life, you understand the quiet grace of a moment. And this little girl, first of all, it's tiny, and she holds across the room like a Vermeer. The depth and the translucency of this child's skin is shocking. I mean, she glows from within. But besides that, she is her great niece. And she said she calls her muse. I love that. I'm sure that child will grow up knowing what the word muse means and learn to use it. So she has a very serious look on her face as she's holding this bundle of flowers very carefully, but in the way a child would. You can imagine if that was a cat and she'd be clutching it and the cat going, ah, she's simply holding these flowers, knowing she's posing in this very engaging look. It's an antique dress. Carmen said that they had spent the day collecting eggs, playing with goats, trying on, clothes. Can you imagine being in your auntie's studio and trying on antique dresses and having her pose you and putting you in special light, and then being able to stand still enough and long enough for her to capture this absolutely stunning piece. I was one of my top 20, and then it made it down to my top 10, 5, and I knew I loved it, and I was so delighted that I loved it equally as much and more so in person when I got to see the piece and be able to award it to Carmen. Her portraiture, the few that I have seen, exude a quiet grandeur, and you see the story behind the subject always in such a subtle and precious way. I mean, they're just precious little gems. The two that I have seen in person are smaller, and yet would hold up in any museum across the world in any time. It's a timeless piece. The attention to skill level, the darkened background, which gently fades to the lit side, of the portrait. Each flower, I can tell you exactly what it is. The gaze that is engaging, the innocence she portrays. Little girl, I can only imagine her playing with goats as well. But for a moment, she has, like the hummingbird, managed to still her and capture the seriousness of her sweet little ruddy cheeks and her angel bow lips and everything about a child that is perfection. And I just as am in love with it today as I was the first time I laid eyes on it. So it's an honor to give you this $1,000 award, Carmen, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Congratulations. Our next one, as I mentioned, we just saw this in the Publisher Awards, but it received the Charles Pratt Award of Excellence in Animals. This was an anonymous award of $1,000 plus the donated ad, which we mentioned. And this is A.G. Markle, Associate Member, Montana. The piece is called Aria. It's a bronze 10 by 10 by 4. And this is one that does so many things. Amanda is one of our newer members, and believe it or not, primarily self-taught and just diving into the profession in the last few years. And from the moment the piece was entered, It has received a lot of attention from the jurors and then from the audience at the museum. And then, of course, everybody who was present to see it. One thing that Amanda really likes to work with is this concept of negative space. She also talks a lot about the push and pull of opposition forces in our lives. So yin yang and things that are difficult and things that are comforting, and looking for balance and harmony. And even more than that, allowing these things to live together. And that's something that I just adore, that you're not trying to shine the spotlight on either one too much, but finding a way for them to live together. So in Aria, she has done what she likes to do with this idea of negative space. So still creating, it's a horse. It doesn't have to have every inch of it. And the idea that it has that negative space adds something to it. It's balancing on one leg, but it's balanced. And when you see the piece in person, it's on a rotating base, which was very smart to do, because then you can turn and see all the angles. And in one part, it does look like a treble clef when you're looking at it. So calling it aria as a song, as movement, and the flow of it, but yet having this more traditional theme or idea of a horse just works beautifully and mixes all those themes together that she's after as far as integration. I have to say, personally, I've also seen a photo. She did this piece in a muddled silver patina, which is equally striking, and it feels like a very different piece. And so it's just a great lesson that when artists make choices about patina, it can drastically change how it looks, but it's still getting that core message apart. So absolutely understand why the jurors were drawn to this for an award in animals, because it takes the concept of animals, but has this vision that makes it very different, bordering on abstract partially, mixed with realism, which is all about that balance and integration that she's after. So this is not the last we will hear from this artist. And we're very, very excited to have this piece in the show. And it's another one that when you see it in person, 10 inches tall, but feels much bigger when you see it. So congratulations, very well deserved.
This beautiful piece is the Charles Pratt Award of Excellence in Still Life, and it is funded by another anonymous donor for $1,000, plus donated merchandise. And this goes to Leanne Whittam. She's a signature member in New Hampshire. And this is called Fiori Immortali, which means immortal flowers. And of course, it is. Leanne went to a trip in Rome and was very much inspired, as all of us are when you go, by the masters there, particularly Caravaggio. And she wanted very much to use this very stark black background. It's a large piece, so the peonies themselves are, I would say, life-size. You feel the weight of the blossoms. They are just so real. And the cascading down of these leaves, creating this wonderful triangular solid composition that just brings you around and around and around, and then it is anchored in the center. Without being distracting, you have these exceptional reflections of the brass bowl underneath, or copper. The metal bowl, it works as a support. You feel the different textures of everything in this painting. It really is just spectacularly done. You can see things in the reflections. They pull you in and drag you in, and yet these flowers remain the subject. And so I think she just did such an exceptional job. She says the flowers are flowers from her own garden, which I love, and that she will choose to plant flowers and foliage that inspire her, and that this Fiori Immortali immortal. They will never die. And these will bring beauty to whoever lives with this painting forever and ever. I mean, it just, the blossoms, you can smell the fragrance. They are that real. And even the attention to the tiny little signature in the bottom was so carefully and beautifully done. Each leaf, each petal was carefully placed in the way, but yet it looks like it's naturally just thrown into this mold and fell this way naturally. I think she just, it's exceptionally done, beautiful use of oil. The light that is still within those blossoms without making them weighty is brilliant. And again, the composition size of the canvas she chose to use, or panel, narrows it down so that this you really are forced to look at just the flowers. It's like a stained glass window. And again, it pulls you right from across the room. It was absolutely brilliant. And the wonderful Brookgreen Museum did an exceptional job of lighting, but the lighting looks like it's coming from within those flowers. It's just, I saw people going up there and like trying to figure out where's the light coming from. Yep, you're right. It's coming out of those flowers. She did it. So brilliant job. Congratulations, Leanne. It is a very well-deserved award.
The next one we'll talk about, I have the pleasure of announcing the Kathleen J. Smith Humanity and Art Award. So Angela Mia, who is one of our Master Signature members, she and her family have given this award for a few years, named after her mother. And this is her statement: recognizes outstanding encapsulation of the human experience through free expression. My mother was a champion for growth, personal freedom, and living life with undeterred honesty. I'm giving it away with the bond. A black and white scratchboard print by Linda Clark is a beautiful depiction of humanity in its purest form, where free growth is assured by emotional safety. Just beautiful words. And thank you for sharing those, Angela. And as I said, the piece that her family chose together is The Bond by Linda Heath Clark, who's a signature member in California. And it's a scratchboard, and it's little, it's 5 by 7. But again, this is incredible things come in small packages. This is another medium that baffles my mind because I'm not an artist, and it just amazes me how this can be done. So you're starting with a black surface and you're revealing the light from the dark. And again, you don't get to edit. Once you make that mark, it stays. So the process itself is fascinating to me because, again, it looks like a photograph at first glance. And to understand that every line you see, every color you see, every hue, the way that it's done, she was making the choice to pull it out of darkness. So not apply it to darkness, but pull it from the dark. And it's just it's a beautiful process to me. Linda's background, she was a scientific illustrator, which makes sense. When you look at her ability to grab detail, every vein, every knuckle, every line on the fingernail, even the shimmer of that ring, just that technical ability. But then you get to the story behind it. And she talks about this was her grandson meeting his great grandmother for the first time. And so she saw, and her, this was her mother-in-law who's no longer with us, but this was this idea for her of generations bonding, which is great for our pushing forward, reaching back, cross-generational, and that generations can support one another, and that we're on this continuum, particularly with loved ones of the next generation coming along and bonding together. So what a beautiful choice for Angela's family to pay tribute to her mother with a piece that shows a great grandmother and a baby meeting for the first time, and that idea of emotional safety that hopefully we're having in our family. So I think that's just a beautiful message. So congratulations, Linda, and thank you again to Angela and her family. The next memorial award we have, Kim Minicello was a a member, a beautiful watercolor artist who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And starting last year, our members have wanted to remember her legacy through an award for a watercolorist. And her family has been very touched by that, and we're happy to do it. It's very meaningful. So this year, 3 of our members came together to create this award in Ken's name. And the winner this year was Sandy Delahante, Master Signature member from California, for her watercolor Calm Waters. It's 18 by 24. And I think, whoops, I'm sorry. I think you were going to tell us a little bit more about it, Christine.
Yes. Well, Sandy is a California artist, and interestingly, she and Kim would meet at our gatherings. I think the last one they were together was in Steamboat, and they both loved each other's work and would, we are such a solitary profession. So for them to be able to powwow about technique, Sandy is a member of the American Watercolor Society, as well as the California Watercolor Association. And she's been in many shows, but what she doesn't say in her bio is that she's an exceptional teacher. The board got to share a house, which was a bit of mayhem and fun. It was a big slumber party. And Sandy did a class with one of her other members on pouring watercolor, which is not this technique. And so she's a brilliant, calm teacher. And she had been at this wonderful park. It's Yosemite, that's given away by these monumental, beautiful rock formations on the Merced River. And the last time she had been there, the waters were brown and rushing and angry. And she said this next time that she came, she was thinking, oh my goodness, I am standing here sketching and it's calm and I see the reflections. And she knew that would be the painting that she was going to do. One of the things that strikes me that's so different about Sandy's watercolor, I spoke with her about this. I said, it's just such a unique style. I almost feel like it has a printmaking quality. And she gets this very calm smile on her face. And she goes, well, I am a master printmaker too. So she's managed to take that other personality and training and amalgamate that into her own unique and personal style that just is second to no one else's that I've seen. It almost looks like a block print, and yet there is also that exceptional fluidity of color, that watercolor flows and blends into each color, and the nuance of the soft lavenders that go into the greens, and yet the rocks feel like rock. So, there's that beautiful quality of individual blocking of each piece of the composition, and the fluidity combined with watercolor, which I've not really, quite frankly, seen any other artist convey this way. It's very beautiful in person, and I think it's a very well-deserved award. And I think Kim would be so pleased to know that her dear friend that got to bond with her in one of the last shows they were in together is receiving this award. So congratulations, Sandy. It's a beautiful piece and well-deserved.
And I think Sandy is so modest, she would want to make sure that I let everyone know that the jurors don't know who the donors are when they are choosing awards. So you see a lot of names that our members are giving to support other artists, but you have to know that the jurors don't know that when they're going in. So they are chosen for the quality of their work, and very well deserved, as you can see.
I think Kim had some influence there too.
Yeah, I think so. The next memorial award is another one that has been given for a few years now. It's the Francis Trachok Memorial Award of Excellence. Catherine Trachok, who you saw is one of our members and received an honorable mention award this year in the exhibition, has done this award with her family in honor of her mother as well. So it's just beautiful. So her mom was very passionate about the arts. I lived in Nevada at the time when I actually knew of her mom's name being involved, and her her family being involved in the arts at a state level and appreciating the kinds of funding that is helpful to art organizations and artists. So they come together as a family and make a choice. And it was so fun. She was emailing, it's so excited when they make their choice and we're able to give these awards. So this year, the winner goes to Elizabeth Polly, Master Signature member from Michigan. It's called Local Dirt. It's an oil and it's 30 by 30. And I love this piece. We've all seen a lot of barns and a lot of work and a lot of ways and a lot of places, and to still be able to draw us in to both this beautiful image that makes it not just a barn, but this place in time, right? She talks about driving around a rural landscape. And I happen to be a Midwesterner with farmers in both sides of the family, going back generations, spent a lot of time driving in those rural landscapes and seeing these barns. What she's done is take it from the utilitarian to this beautiful imagery. If you look at the sky and those mixed colors, we've seen that sky, right? Where it's violet and it's blue and it's white and it's coming together, and there might be a storm coming. But then look at how the light is coming in from the sides on that barn and where the shadows are, particularly on that left side on the ground. And then this horse that's sort of basking in that glow, this golden glow around, and then the water to the foreground, which also is reflecting off those beautiful colors from the sky, and then also from the grass around it. And this idea of local dirt and farming and what this all represents, the work and the generations of time of people working this land and being in this land. If you're driving fast through a rural landscape, you'll see lots of barns go past you, right? But to take one of them and stop and capture this moment in particular, I just think she's done it beautifully with the color and the concept behind it. I think she talks about knowing tradition and still being able to see tradition even today when you see a barn standing like this. So I think it's very fitting. I think Catherine's family agreed with all of that, this multi-generational paying an homage to their mom and recognizing work, whether you're an artist or a farmer, but this giving your time to creating something really makes a lot of sense. So congratulations, Elizabeth. This is just a gorgeous piece.
A lot of acknowledgement of moms.
Yes, throughout.
In all these awards, it's quite special.
So thanks again to everyone who sponsored these named awards and allowed us to give the artists recognition along with resources that they've donated. Last but not least, is everybody still with us? So this year, the $10,000 Grand Prize Award was sponsored generously by Edmund S. Twining III. And to be able to give an artist a $10,000 prize along with all of the rest of the prizes is just incredible. So we were so honored. It's one of the best parts of the job is to be able to make those awards. So thank you for the sponsorship. And are you ready to reveal?
Do it. That's exciting.
Dun, 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 dun. And Christine, who did we have as a winner?
My grand prize winner is Kirsten Koken, a master signature artist from Colorado, who also shares her home in Norway. So she is the benefit of living in two countries. I will let you feast your eyes on this beautiful sculpture for a moment while I just tell you a tiny bit about Kirsten's work. She has she has distinct and bold feminine approach with an emphasis on movement, and you can see there is movement. You see the wind, you see the hair. She's holding onto her shawl. I can almost feel the prairie winds blowing her. Kirsten has done series of life-size ballet dancers as well as numerous monumental portraits. She did HRH Crown Princess Martha of Norway, and which is on Massachusetts Avenue. And she has over 100 monumental sculptures placed in the US and Norway, and is a fellow of NSS and master signature member of AWA. Bravo, bravo. And now, if I could just speak a little bit about Hope herself, I think certainly what a delightful title, which in a time of tumultuous uncertainty, just the very word hope instills some peace in my heart personally. I love that she's holding out her hand on her heart and reaching up and reaching out. This particular piece was one that she said she was having it sit in her studio. It was what she called a pause piece, where she just wasn't really quite sure what to do with it. I can't even imagine what to do with that idea of sitting a piece and being with it until it tells you what it wants. Mm-hmm. And they do have a way of doing that. And but when the pandemic came, she felt the need to create a more hopeful and positive sculpture, and she transferred her design from being contemplative and inward to an active forward stance toward a better world. And I love that that we are coming out of a particularly isolated time in our history where, first of all, we're chomping at the bit to get out there, but to reach out in a gesture of hope that the world will be a better place after this, and that we will come together in a better way after that. The design is classical and timeless, of course, and she wants it to represent all women in their positive and strong will for creating a better world. And Sandra, I will let you share your thoughts on the piece as well.
Yeah, I echo the thought, and I think it illustrating this idea of, Kirsten talks about all women and wanting to be people that bring people together and create a better world. And that messaging of this woman standing there so strong and hopeful couldn't represent AWA more.
Right.
But the piece itself really does strike you when you walk in and see it in person. The size is part of it, but the detail, despite the size, is what really draws you in, and that message is incredible. And if I may, we weren't able, Kirsten has been traveling, so we haven't been able to talk to her, but she did email, and if I may, she wanted to say thank you to all the donors and the jurors for the extraordinary honor, gift, and prize. I'm overwhelmed with honor and gratitude. So sorry that I was not able to come in person to the show. And I love this. I'm so proud to be part of AWA, and now I will certainly not brag any less. So thank you for those thoughts, Kirsten. And we love it. She's a huge supporter. And so it's lovely that she was able to be awarded this by the jurors this year. So congratulations.
Yeah, she stands, you look her in the eye, you come into the museum space, and there's glass on all sides of this sculpture. So you really see the reflected light in the patinas. She is monumental, and she looks like every strong woman I want to be. And I just am so thrilled that for a beautiful museum known for its sculpture that she can take her place as a winner. And with the recognition of the people that got to choose this, I feel very strongly that it was so well deserved and represents the best of who we are as well. So congratulations, Kirsten. We're very proud of you.
On that note, congratulations to everyone. What an incredible show. It was our honor, and we have to say we were thrilled to be there in person. And I know it was still a challenge for a lot of folks to travel. There's so many things happening personally, professionally for people. But we think those of us that could be there really had a great time, and we hope we'll see more people next time in Loveland. In the meantime, all of the pieces in this show are incredible. So we encourage you to look online. They are for sale. We have sold some already, which is great. But those that are available are online, and we encourage you to take a look. And thank you for your time and attention. And thank you, Christine. Your commentary is incredible.
You can tell we just hate to talk about art.
Yes.
That Sandra and I get to do. We look forward to this. I go, what are we going to do?
Right.
We fight over who we're going. I had to let her have drag. So it is a pleasure and a joy. We're so grateful that you came and shared this with us. Congratulations to all our award winners, and a special thank you to the donors. That's a first that all of our awards have been sponsored. We're so grateful. We love you and we need you. And I know you have made such a difference in these artists' lives and in AWA's future. So thank you. And we look forward to having you maybe go down and see the show. It's going to be up for a while. So it's pretty awesome too.
Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.